I really don't think I need to explain who Bill Nye is. He is the aptly named science guy, hosting a show of that name from 1993 to 1999, which would still be played in classrooms by depressed science teachers up to at least the 2010s. Heck, maybe even today, which is a bit of a problem considering science has changed a lot since the 1990s. So in order to counteract potential brain rot that his outdated show is doing to this day, he decided to produce a spiritual sequel of the OG show for the audience that grew up with it. It's not one-to-one with the original show, but it is very similar, just with a few more adult subjects. The show would have originally blended with a bunch of other 90s reboots and remakes that were going around, but as people scrolled, they noticed the 9th episode, simply titled The Sexual Spectrum, got a ton of people's attention for the insightful and well-documented information, you may ask? Well, not exactly. In fact, quite the opposite. And since 7 years has passed since this episode has come out, I decided to dedicate this Pride Month to looking over the episode again, and seeing if any of the controversy was warranted. The episode, as the title suggests, deals with the topic of sexuality, and how, despite what people initially believed, and what some still harp to, things are not as black and white, or should I say, as blue and pink as we thought. Nye dividing human sexuality into 4 major components: sex, biology, what your chromosomes dictate, what equipment's between your legs, that kind of stuff. Gender, how you personally identify and experience society. Attraction, who do you like, men, women, masculine, feminine, all, none, whatever. And expression, how you choose to express yourself regardless of sex and gender. Showing via an abacus that things are not as simple and straightforward as a 3rd grade school textbook would have you believe. Comparing human sexuality to a kaleidoscope, showing there isn't a normal and queer setting, no matter what some people want you to think is the case. Citing a couple of examples such as Clownfish, who, for those who do not know, can change sex if needed for the survival of the school. He even had his correspondent, Veritasium, fly all the way to South Korea to show how they were breaking many Western gender norms via a music genre that we would all come to learn soon enough. The one issue that I think Bill Nye kind of does, and it is kind of the fault of the format of his show, is that he could have gone way deeper. Now I get it, Bill Nye isn't necessarily a scientist. Bazinga. He is the science guy, a science advocate. So his point is that he's going on a somewhat surface level viewpoint and then wants you to search a little deeper. Kind of like how my videos are sort of doing the same thing. They go just deep enough so that you have knowledge, but not too deep that you know every single detail. But that was because his original show was supposed to tackle children with really small attention spans. Now his show is aimed at adults. He really could have went further in depth, especially considering there's a lot of things that prove his case even more so. The fact that many indigenous populations around the world have gender identities that do not necessarily fit male and female, bringing up the fact that many of the so-called Western gender norms that we have changed very frequently in US history, to even something as basic as the fact that we associate women with not wearing pants, despite the fact that I have barely seen women wearing dresses in the modern day, to the point where we literally have a saying that explicitly emasculates men by claiming that the women wear the pants in the relationship. And yet the gender norm of men wearing pants and women wearing dresses exclusively basically doesn't exist anymore. Like, again, he could have brought up a lot more, but I do think he generally did get his point across. Although I won't lie, I have looked into all these subjects a little bit prior to watching the episode, but unlike a lot of other people who were watching this episode, I was ready and willing to look into any subject that I didn't know a lot about, and was willing to be proven wrong on certain things and misconceptions that I did believe. Such is the case during the panel section of the show, where he briefly talked about the gay gene. For those who have no clue what I'm talking about, back in the 90s, a geneticist named Dean Hammer conducted a study of 144 families to see if there was a genetic explanation for homosexuality. And his study showed that there was a correlation between the XQ28 chromosome band and homosexuality, with some other studies alleging other potential links. However, a part of the studies that isn't discussed is the fact that while yes, we can see that these two things seemingly have some sort of relation, there's nothing definitive that connects this to this. And I think we all know the adage, correlation does not imply causation, which the panel discusses, albeit not too long. Again, I really wish that Bill Nye and the panel and any of these subjects were expanded upon a little further, maybe include some citations of different studies here and there. But that's the thing. You're not supposed to go to Bill Nye and accept every single piece of information that he states with 100% uncritical thinking. He's supposed to walk in, give you a taste of the information with the idea that you're going to look further to it in the future, either through your schoolwork or, if you really, really want to know this information, your spare time. That's what both of these shows are supposed to be. The only difference is around 20 years of new information and the fact that the audience he is aiming for has matured. On the bright side, due to the fact that his audience is more mature now, and they all already trust Bill Nye through his respected career in science and education, naturally, the response to this episode would be really positive. People grateful that they found new information that they didn't consider before, and hopefully them looking further into the subject so they can become more well-versed and knowledgeable on the subject at hand. Right? Absolutely not. Like, absolutely none of that happened. And I place the blame primarily on the failure of the United States education system. Or I guess I could blame it on the people who have to fund the United States education system, because it just absolutely failed all these people. Because they decided to take this, which is supposed to be a taste of the information that you get in your education, and stretch it into an entire meal, which left so many people's brains completely malnourished of information. And what's worse is that these people can't even understand that their brains are malnourished. They legitimately think that this information is all they need. And for some reason, their connection to this information becomes personal, and anybody who approaches them with anything contradictory to what they learned is just wrong, no matter the objective fact that proves that they are wrong. We're the same country that literally just demands that Pluto be reinstituted as a planet, despite the fact that it is not able to be classified as one. We're the same people who laughed at the idea of rebooting the Magic School Bus with new information to teach a new generation of children, and would rather them watch a show that is vastly out of date. As such, when Bill Nye tried to do the exact same thing and try to make sure that that generation remained as adept into the science field that they claim that they are, they instead turned at him and laughed at him. The biggest group of people that are such hypocrites in doing so was the YouTube skeptic community. You know, the people whose entire genre was based on using science and data to debunk misinformation, with many of their prominent members deciding to denounce Bill Nye the Science Guy as becoming a full-on SJW for simply acknowledging the fact that new information debunked the old information, with many of them even going so far as to use his old out-of-date show as proof that he was wrong.
I should also mention, this screenshot is a flat-out fabrication. The clip is quite literally just Bill explaining what chromosomes are and their relation to genetics. Gender and sex is not mentioned in the monologue.
I could relitigate the entire drama all over again, but I think it'd be better if I just simply linked the HBomb guy videos from when this drama came out down below. He goes way more in depth on this subject than I am, but I did want to focus on one argument that I saw over and over and over again when I tried to watch some of the debunks of this episode. Take it away, Armored Skeptic.
Episode 9 is called The Sexual Spectrum. This one's about biological sex and how it relates to gender expression and sexual preference. Or at least that's what I thought this episode was going to be about. This episode is very clearly politically driven and has very little basis in science.
Oh, this show has
Little.
basis in science? Well then, Mr. Armor, I'm sure that you'll use your video to explain with all of the specific scientific data points to show how Bill Nye is wrong, right? I mean, you're not just gonna say that there is no
Little.
basis in science of what Bill Nye says and then not include any scientific data points, right? You're not going to ignore the fact that he invited two prominent scientists in the fields that he is talking about to discuss this topic that show that you're wrong, right? You're not just going to say that and then just move on to the next point, right? I mean, big deal. It's not like there's going to be this guy with a banana suit that's going to come around and is going to like link a ton of scientific information that just completely proves you're wrong, right? Yeah, it seems like science is on this side of the aisle and not on yours, Mr. Armor. So yeah, much like everything that happened during the anti-SJW era, it was all a complete nothing burger, and everything that was going on was completely overblown by people who had way too much time on their hands. Bill Nye proven right once more. Thanks for watching this video. Be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and click the bell to notify when a future video of mine comes out. And if you want more content from me, you can go to my website, follow me on Twitter, join our Discord, or consider supporting me on Patreon.